All right, today we're looking at topic sentences and their relationship to creating good commentary. So remember that topic sentences essentially are mini thesis statements. They're statements that we need to prove. So in order to do that, we need to remember what our thesis statement is. So since I'm creating a hypothetical essay for you here about Lord of the Flies, let's take a moment to look at our thesis statement. Remember, every single book asks a question that it doesn't prove. It leaves us wondering why something happened. So, in Lord of the Flies, probably the most direct, overwhelming question that is not answered by William Golding, the author, is why does savagery win? Why does chaos end up beating down order? What is the answer? So for my thesis, I'm attempting to answer that question. Why do they win? So the thesis statement is my answer. Now remember, it's just not enough for me to repeat what we already know. I can't say the savage nature of the boys wins. That doesn't tell my audience anything. I want to explain why it wins. So for me, I get more precise. I say that the savage nature of the hunters overwhelms civility because the boys transform themselves. And in doing so, they forget all the old ways about British society, British customs, them being young, proper boys. The transformation is key. That is why savagery wins. Because they transform themselves, they forget who they were. And once you forget who you are, who knows who you'll end up being? So again, this is what I'm going to prove. So I need to move on to my topic sentences, because again, I still have to prove this. So here are some examples of bad topic sentences. Jack is a hunter and he kills the pigs. Yes, that is accurate. That is true. But how does that relate to your thesis statement? That has nothing to do with your thesis statement. Okay, we're still looking for ways in which the boys are creating new customs. They're transforming themselves. So Jack is a hunter, and he does kill pigs, but that's a statement of fact. For this first bad topic sentence to work, we'd have to change it into something like, Jack transforms himself into a hunter, a brutal murderer, and in doing so, he forgets the gentle boy he once was. But notice again, that topic sentence has the word transform in it. It relates closely back to my thesis statement. And you'll notice the second bad topic sentence. Jack is rude, aggressive, and egotistical. Well, yes he is. But again, how does that relate to your thesis statement? It doesn't at all. So we can't just describe characters. Those are statements of fact. All right, here are two excellent topic sentences. Let's look at the first one. Jack is the most successful in ignoring civilized social norms because he is the character, out of all the other castaways, who most actively seeks to alter his old identity. Notice how closely this is linked to my thesis statement. It sounds practically the same, but I'm looking at Jack in a more specific way. I'm saying he is the one who most actively seeks to alter his old identity. He's trying to transform. He wants to transform. Also, notice too in the first little section of this, but because he is the character who most actively seeks. I'm trying to get at some kind of why. Jack is the most successful because. In the second good topic sentence, I just don't say something like the hunters develop a dance. Okay, yes, the hunters do develop a dance, and they develop a chant too. But how does that relate to the thesis statement? Here, this is way better, because the hunters forget their old behaviors, their old British customs, and invent new, strange custom. That is them actually trying to transform themselves into something other than they were. Now, in order to prove that topic sentence, I need to find a quote. So here you go. Here's an example. As you'll see, there is the topic sentence we previously looked at. There's a lead-in. Notice the lead-in uses a lot of details and it's 2 sentences long. And there's a quote. Now, an excellent quote is a quote that requires some kind of explanation. It's too difficult for most people to ignore. It's something that has to be explained. Not only that, but it has to relate to my topic sentence. So again, if you look at the topic sentence, Jack is actively seeking to alter his old identity. I had to think back through the book and find a quote that related to Jack really seeking to change who he was, to get away from the old choir boy reputation. So the first real quote that pops up in my mind is when Jack uses the paint to cover up his old face. And then there's that wonderful quote about him hiding behind this face, and it liberates him from shame and self-consciousness. What does that mean? Now, as the writer, I know what that means. I can get at that. But that's a really complicated quote that requires some explanation. That's interesting. Okay, here's that excellent commentary. Now, you're going to want to notice how it reaches back to that quote, how it's very specific in its explanation of why that quote is important. So, pause this for a minute and give it a good read. Now, what you'll notice is that this quote is all about Jack's transformation. How by putting the mask on, by putting the paint on, how it changes who he is and the freedom it allows him to have on the island. Right? So again, we're looking at this idea of separation. Jack wants to separate himself from the old ways and from the boys trying to reinstill the old ways on the new island. And so in my topic sentence where I said he's actively trying to change who he is, what's so important about this commentary here is not only do I show you that he is changing who he is, but I tell you why it's such a dramatic transformation. What does the face paint allow him to do? How does it separate him from the other boys? How will it, like I suggest in the last sentence, how does this, the face paint, foreshadow him becoming the bloodthirsty chief at the end? That's what's so important about this quotation. It gives me something really interesting to talk about. And finally, just in case you were wondering what this whole body paragraph looked like all put together, here you go. Okay, remember those key components. Without a great topic sentence seeking to prove something, your body paragraph will fall apart. Without a good, interesting quote, you won't have anything to say in your commentary. Notice too, sometimes you have to pick 2 short quotes in the middle. Sometimes quotes need a little bit of help. Okay, so if you just have one tiny quote, chances are you're not able to generate enough commentary. So, like I did in this example, stack 2 small quotes in the middle. Then, again, if you've done it correctly, and you've really considered those quotes, you're going to be able to speak about why those quotes are so important and how they relate back to your topic sentence.